really interesting conversation, to say the least. Hey, everyone, welcome to the Potential Zone show. I'm really excited to have this conversation with everybody tonight. And I am going to expose something that has been needed to be exposed for quite a while, because there are things that we don't know, and then there are things that we don't know that we know that we don't know, and then there's things that we know, right? And language is one of the most important things. Language is everything. Language is how we connect with other people. Language is how we understand things. Language is what we base what we perceive to be true off of. And we are indoctrinated with language all day long. And there are people out there that understand this. And so what they do is they present things in a way that creates the outcome that they want to create. And if they can create division, if they can create anger, if they can create fear, then they're successful at what they want to do, because in doing that, it causes people to suffer. And when people suffer, guess what they do? They consume more products. So I'm here to do everything I can. Sorry about that. I'm here to do everything I can to expose what's going on, and giving you some tools so that you can step more into your agency. So you stepping more into your agency, your ability to step into your power and make decisions based on who you truly are, is what I'm all about. That's what potential is for me. So let's talk about the lie of discrimination. Now, there's a way that word is used that has been last couple of years really used in a way that it is used in a way that puts a bad light to it. And I use discrimination a lot, and I would encourage you to. It's just understanding the context of how you use it, because there has been some things that have happened in the last couple of years that have taken that word and weaponized it. And they say, if you use discrimination, then you are racist. And now understanding that there's different components to the word discrimination. And we're going to go over those in this conversation, but I want to really teach you how to step more into your wholeness and your truth, so that you can make decisions based on wisdom, right? Like, I love the word wisdom. Well, is what can you receive, but you can't give, right? Like, I can't give you wisdom. Wisdom comes from you having, exposing yourself to teachings, and then practicing and implementing it, and then it becomes wisdom when it integrates into who you are. And so that's my whole intention. Again, if this is your first time listening to me, welcome. I'm super glad you're here. And if you are a friend of mine, welcome as well, because you'll know that potential is what I'm obsessed with. That's everything I do is around potential. And potential is not positive or negative. It just is the actualization of possibility. So I want to do everything I can to get people to understand how to step into their higher resourcefulness, because it's not that we are unresourceful. It's that we get into unresourceful states. And then when we are in resourceful states, we have aspects of our unconscious show up that keep us playing small. And so my mission is to do everything I can to empower entrepreneurs to unleash their greatest truth within who they are, and be able to share their message with the world in a way that is unstoppable, unshameable. There's nothing that holds them back, because there's components of us that we have taken on that give us the opportunity for us to move through that and discover new aspects of who we are. As soon as we define something as trouble, we have already characterized the experience, and because we've characterized the experience with that word, it's going to bring up fear, right? So it's learning how to use language in a way that empowers us, that gets us to step into an opportunity, a possibility, a challenge, something for you to learn, because we are all going to go through initiations. And when we are in that initiation, and friends, understand, I work at this all the time. This is mastery. Mastery is not getting to a place where you never have to practice again. Mastery is it's your lifestyle, and you have strategies within yourself that keep you engaged in the process. And I've got days that I do better at that than other days. And I'm human, and I work at it all the time. And this is what the great thing is about what I do, is because I teach it and I coach it and I train it and live it, right? I get to see things that are pretty amazing. So I've been really paying attention to this word discrimination, and it came up to me. And so let's look at some different definitions of what discrimination really means. It's an English word, it's a noun, and the act of discrimination, discerning. discerning, right? Like discerning is wisdom, right? Like my ability to discern something is powerful. Distinguishing, noticing or perceiving differences between things with the intent to understand rightly and make correct decisions. Okay. That's what discrimination means. Okay. The act of recognizing the good and bad in a situation and choosing good. Now, even on that definition, I want to expand on that a little bit because I would encourage you to step into a place where, as soon as we characterize something, right, what happens with that, and depending on your attachment to your characterization, it's going to impact how you start perceiving a lot of things, because what we perceive is based on what I believe. And if I keep making distinctions or characterizing an experience a certain way, well, then what that's going to do is I'm going to start projecting that. And then that projection is going to impact my ability to really be aware of what's really going on, right? So being able to look at things beyond good and bad, right? Like good and bad is just a perception. It's just an opinion, right? Like I think going into opportunities are incredible, right? Now that doesn't mean that it's going to be a blissful, joyful experience. It means that the reason I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing is because it's an opportunity for me to grow and expand and learn new components of who I am. Now, friends, understand, there are days that I'm like, what in the is going on, right? I'm human. I still have my days, but I understand that this is an initiation, and it's like one is a problem, no longer a problem. It's when we discover the solution, or it's when it's no longer relevant. Because there's people out there, I've been one of them as well, that really get something out of living in problems, because that's how they've been programmed to believe, and they get a certain amount of attention in being in that place, right? And I've got different components of who I am, where I get to learn how to address the victim aspect of who I am. And it, again, provides me opportunity to learn more about who I am and how I show up. So really understanding the difference between right and wrong and make the correct decisions, right? Because the act of recognizing the good and bad in situations and choosing good, right? Now that's discrimination. But again, discrimination, and going further with that, is what if I look at every single experience as an opportunity for me to find out something about who I am, and being able to take that wisdom and turn it into alchemizing it, like turn it into whatever I want to turn it into, right? And then here's another difference. Sometimes, and this is even in parentheses, sometimes discrimination against, okay, which means distinct treatment of an individual or group to their disadvantage, right? Treatment or consideration based on class of category rather than individual merits, partiality, prejudice, and bigotry, okay? Sometimes. Now, this is what's really important. The quality of being discriminating, acute discernment. This is your ability. This is your agency of being able to exercise acute discernment, like really recognizing what is truth for you, right? Now, understand that you are the only person you're spending every moment of your life with. So you don't have to make sense of this to anybody else, because they're not you. Like I was just having a conversation with somebody, and I've gotten this, I can't tell you how many times. I'm a ferocious learner. I just love to learn, right? And yes, there's been components of that in my life, again, based on the state that I was in when I was where I was at that time, where I was looking outside of myself to find an answer, because of what I was experiencing on the inside was not a pleasant place. So I was looking outside of myself, hoping that I would discover something that would remove how I was feeling inside. So there's been components of my life around that for sure. But I also love learning. Like I spend a lot of time every day. I probably go through 2 to 3 books a week, plus all the videos, plus all the other things that I'm going through right now. But this is the season that I'm at. There's other seasons in my life where for most part, I at least an hour a day I'm learning something, listening to a book, reading a book, studying, watching a video, something like that. So it's again making the discernment within myself of me knowing what is true for me. Mark of a distinction, a characteristic. These are properties of being discrimination. And so that's the English version, and it comes from a Latin word which means discriminatio. Okay. I'm just going to apologize for my phonics is not my strong point. I just looked it up and listened to it, and I believe it was discriminatio, and it means separation, the contrasting of opposite thoughts. This, my friend, this is a powerful, powerful tool, is to be able to contrast opposing thoughts. So let me share with this. And I just taught this in the master class that I was teaching last night. By the way, if you're watching this and you haven't joined the Potential Zone group.com, I encourage you to do that, because I'm going to start giving lots and lots of content over there. And these broadcasts over all my different platforms are going to be limited into just the potentialzonegroup.com. So get over the potentialzonegroup.com. You'll be glad you did. Join the community. A lot of amazing things happening over there. But the Mastering Potential is a mastermind group that I've been teaching, and that's going to be available down the road. You can check it out at masteringpotential.com. But I was teaching in a class last night in the polarity, right? Like so many people have been taught to look through the eyes of duality, which means it's either good or bad. It's black or white. It's left or right. But see, let's just look at politics, right? And understand politicians are very, very good at separation. That's what a lot of them do. And this is and they use the word discrimination, right? But it's understanding that the left wing and the right wing is attached to the same bird. The left wing and the right wing is attached to the same bird. And see, we've got to be able to use discernment to understand that there's a lot bigger picture going on here than what they are not allowing us. I choose to look beyond the curtain, right? Like, look at the media. Like, media is the goddess of illusion, just saying. But looking behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, when they found the Oz behind the curtain, right, is looking at how they use language to get you to entangle into certain narratives. Who is in control of the narratives of your life, right? And this is why discrimination is so, so important. Because if somebody says you're discriminative, yeah, absolutely I am. Absolutely I discriminate, right? Because I have the ability of understanding. And now let's talk about polarity. Right? Because the media, public education, I'm just saying that there are some things going on in public education today that is really, really important, that we start expanding our bandwidth on really understanding language and communication and influence, because our children are very, very, very impressionable. And they look to authority figures. And if you look at the word authority, which in that word is author, right? And this is what I teach. This is programming your unconscious, right? Like 75% of what we know is in our entire life is by the age of 5, right? And there's developmental stages that the child goes through. And because they have a certain relationship with their teachers or their authority figures in their life, they end up taking on secondhand beliefs. And they're never taught the difference of the distinction, how to discriminate with a secondary belief, or like looking at it and seeing if this is true, or am I just taking this on just because an authority figure told me to take it on? Just like right now. So you look at the words mandatory to wear a mask. That doesn't mean law. Mandatory does not mean law, or we suggest, or it's required. All these different words that they use doesn't make it law. So you learning what language is really about is one of the greatest things that you could ever do. But going back to polarity is like, hate is not the opposite of love. It is not. It's the absence of love. It's just like darkness is not the opposite of light. It's the absence of light. Cold is not the opposite of heat. It's the absence of heat, right? So when you start looking at life like that and understanding it's a polarity rather than a duality, either or, now you start you're able to discern more. You're able to step more into the distinctions of what's really going on and seeing it where you're at within that. Because if you have, fear is not the opposite of courage. It's the absence of courage, right? So we have to have fear in order for us to experience courage. Otherwise, it's not going to be courage, right? So we've got to understand of where does it no longer become fear and we step into courage. Now, if this is fear over here and this is courage, the moment you start stepping towards courage, it's courageous, right? It's again, looking at the rules that you make in yourself about it. And I would just offer this to everybody. because it's fun, that when somebody uses a word, understand that you have the ability to say, what does that word mean to you? Right now, it doesn't mean that that is correct. Like I had a friend of mine say something one time and I thought it was so awesome. I was like, that is so brilliant. He said the dictionary is a book of dead words. I was like, man, that absolutely, absolutely. That's what it is. Because you look at some of the words today, like let's just look up the word thong, right? Like that's what they used to call flip flops, right? Like that's a word, right? And there's lots of other words that, like what they used to call cigarettes, right? Like what they used to call happy. Now they're sexual preferences, right? So it's really understanding, because this is the one that controls the ambiguity or the specificity of a conversation controls it. And if you don't understand how someone's using language, then you are going to be taken places. And what happens is if they know, so let's take case in point. This is teaching you a lesson in discrimination, that when Obama ran for president, okay, this isn't about Obama. Actually, it was brilliant. It was brilliant marketing on his part, right? This has nothing to do with Obama. See, this is a case in point. Like if I said I'm not a fan of Obama, and I'm just saying this, right? If I said if I wasn't a fan of Obama, I was prejudiced, right? Because he's black, right? It had nothing to do with his color, had nothing to do with it. It had to do with his politics, had to do with his character, whatever. And again, I'm not saying that that's what I feel, but it's using that. This is how they use language to set you into a place that you're unresourceful, and then they can overpower you, right? This is really, really important. But in Obama's first campaign, I don't know if you remember what it was, but it was brilliant. It was brilliant. What was his campaign slogan? What was Obama's campaign slogan? It was change. It was change, right? Which means I'm going to take what I believe or how I believe the country should change, and I'm going to project that onto him, right? And he has his change. Yes, Dorothy, absolutely, it's change. He already has his agenda of what that means to him, but I believe he's going to change it the way I think he's going to change it. That's called projection, right? Now, they understand that you're going to do this, right? This is the ambiguity or specificity of a conversation. That's a very ambiguous statement, which means as soon as they say that word, we are going to project onto that word what we believe it is, right? Like love, I love you. Okay, what does that mean, right? And so the more you understand this, so then guess what? What was his second campaign? What was Obama's second campaign? Did it again, brilliantly. It's brilliant, brilliant marketing, right? It was hope. It was hope, right? And guess what they did again? Okay, I got to put hope on this is what I hope is going to change. And therefore, because I believe this is what it is, we project it onto them. And see, this is what happens. Once we do this, then we get entangled into the illusion that we have created, the projection that we put on it. And see, this is where it gets really, really interesting, is that when we do that, now we are feeding an illusion that we have created, a projection, and then that keeps us from using our life force, which is our focus and our attention on being able to really see what is going on. What I just said there is powerful, friends, powerful, right? Because just let's take the word friend, right? Like, you're my best friend. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean to be your best friend? And see, all of us have unconscious rules about all these different domains of our life. Like, what does it mean to be successful? What does it mean to be rich? What does it mean to be in love? What does it mean to be married? What does it mean to divorce? What does it mean to be financially set? What does it mean to be poor, broke, happy, joyful, whatever, right? We all have our own definitions of what this means. But what we do is we project what we believe it is onto somebody else. And that starts causing the breakdown. And what causes relationship breakdowns, I'm just going to give you a huge FYI. What causes relationships to break down is communication. Straight up. It's not sex. It's not money. It's communication. And what we communicate is based off of the values, our deep unconscious values. That is where our communication comes from. Once we change those values and really figure out what it is that's important to us, then we start to communicate much more clearly, much more in our power, right? Like you're talking to somebody and you can tell whether they're in their power or in their wound, because when they're in their wound, they're usually reacting, right? They can, like, sometimes when I'm off, and I'm just telling you something so that if you ever experience this with me online, you'll know what I'm doing, right? Is there's times like if I've drank a lot of coffee and I have things going on in my life and I'm not present when I sit down in front of this camera and I start going, I can talk really fast, right? And it's because I'm not grounded. I'm coming more from my head than from my heart. But when I'm coming from my heart, I can drop down. I can really get clear about what my intention is. And then from that, I start communicating from there. This is all discernment, friends. This is all discernment, which is an aspect of discrimination. Discrimination is a great thing. It's being able to discern what is in alignment with you and what is not in alignment with you. And so if anybody tells you that discrimination has anything to do with racist, there's a very, very, very small component of it, right? You don't have to take that on. You don't have to take that on because, again, if we don't understand what is going on in our inner world, then what we will do is we will give that to somebody else and allow them to overpower us because we go into an unresourceful state of like, oh, I don't know what the answer to that is. And then our ego goes, dude, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? We're going to get humiliated. And this is what causes us to break down. We do not want to be humiliated. We do not want to be humiliated, and we will do everything in our power to protect ourselves from being humiliated. And this is the parts of us that we have stuck deep, deep, deep within our shadow. Okay. So discrimination is a lie. It is. So learning how to use discrimination so that you can step into your agency and really come from a place of understanding and knowing your power, right? Because again, this is like, how much of our lives do we not want to look at, or how many decisions do we not want to make because of experiences or decisions we've made in the past that ended up causing shame or we regret or not able to forgive ourselves for whatever that is. If we're not dealing with those and cleaning that up, then what we end up doing is it really impacts our ability to take out and step into the unknown again, right? So fearlessness is letting go of the anticipation of loss, right? So you becoming more familiar of what it means to let go of narratives that you have created by somebody else, which is, right, what did you think discrimination was? Like when you saw the title and you came on here, you started making decisions about what you think this is. It's what we do. It's our analytical, it's our protective part. We make comparisons, we analyze, we strategize, we try to figure out how it is, we make judgments, prejudices, all this stuff is to protect ourselves. And we got to make a choice in a nanosecond to determine whether or not this is worth my time or not. And what is worth our time is based on the algorithm that we are in, right? So like I said, is this your first time seeing me? Welcome, friend. I'm awesome to meet you. If this is someone that has returned, in fact, I had something that really happened, something awesome today. I had one of my Facebook friends send me a coffee with a picture that I had on a post when I celebrated 32 years of sobriety here like a week ago. And I was just like, man, this is so freaking awesome. I have amazing, amazing friends. And I consider each and every one of you a friend. If you're in my life, I want you to know that you're an amazing person. And I want to do everything I can to support you in becoming the most expanded, awesome version of who you are. And what it is it's knowing what to let go of, right? So so that's why I wanted to get on here and talk about discrimination. I'm going to be teaching live pretty much for the most part every night for a while. And again, if you haven't joined the Potential Zone group, I'd encourage you to do that now. Get over there. And then also I'm going to be teaching a master class this coming Monday, and you can register for that by going to masteringpotential.com, masteringpotential.com. You'll be glad you did, because this is a powerful, powerful workshop that I do. And you'll be glad you joined that as well. And I've got some gifts for you when you sign up. So be sure to get over to masteringpotential.com. And until then, my friend, I appreciate you being here. Love each and every one of you. And thank you for your valuable time, because we don't ever get it back, right? So let's do what we can to expand it and leverage it and use it in a way that makes a difference in this world. So appreciate you being here. And as always, my friend, as always, live like your life depends on it, because it does. And you deserve the best. May you be blessed. And I will see you soon. Take care.